Welcome to your 2018 Lunar Report. I'm Tammy Taylor, your manifestation muse. And yes, this is a report for the emotional moon sign because this is all about taking charge of our emotions. It is about being very clear about what our intuitive guidance is saying, because by knowing what energies are available to support our wants, desires, and our needs, we're able to more effectively engage in our lives. So this isn't about control. It's not about being able to dictate or to predict the outcome. This is about knowing scientifically, astrologically, cyclically, based on universal and ancient truths of the cosmos, what patterns are available and are working for us and on our behalf. We know them here on the Great Mother Speaks channel as the lunar energies of Great Mother, the Holy Spirit, that still small voice that operates through the lunar cycles. It is that moon that is constantly revolving around the earth, the ego child, the ego body. We are the children, aren't we? And as children of the Great Mother, Father, God, especially during the holidays, which we've just come through, we're often asked as children, what do you want? And just generally in life as a child, you can recall being asked every time you saw someone new or a parent introduced you to someone or a teacher or a new class, what do you want to be? Remember that? Well, Great Mother, Father, God never stop asking us that, because as souls, we are never done evolving. We are never done wanting. We are never done experiencing. And so every solar cycle, every lunar cycle asks us that same question. And so as children of the Great Mother, Father, God, we are divine. We are seen as divine. We are not seen as weak. We are not seen as victims. That is an illusion that we have accepted. And so that is the part of the weak ego, when we talk about the weak, unhealthy ego that has taken on that illusion as an identity. There are three concepts that are very important for viewers to the Great Mother Speaks YouTube channel. The first one is that we are divine children of the Great Mother, Father, God, which means we are dearly loved. You can see here the logo says, you are dearly loved. What does that mean? The second principle, that we are never judged or condemned. Does that mean there are no consequences for our actions? Absolutely not. There is karma. There is karma for everything that we do, good or antagonistic to our needs or to the needs of others. We are never judged or condemned. Never. Never. And we don't judge or condemn other people because we know, especially based on what I'm about to share with you about the first quarter of this year, we never have enough information to adequately judge anyone. These are general readings. Can you imagine when they get more specific? So we don't even go there. And the third principle is that because we are dearly loved and are never judged and condemned, we're never alone. Regardless of that illusion that the unhealthy ego has, we are never alone. We have countless guides, angels, and ancestors assisting us on a daily basis, on a minute basis, on an eternal basis. Are you kidding me? So, Great Mother, Father, God, even through the sun and the moon, ask us every day, all day, what do you want? In the moment of question, of uncertainty, what do you want? In the moment of confusion, of despair, what do you want? We have the power to assert that, but fear of this power, based on the unhealthy ego that says I'm constantly being judged and condemned, I am not loved, I am alone, is afraid to embrace that power. But here on the Great Mother Speaks channel, you know that that's where these readings come from. That's where the information comes from. It comes from a place of knowing that we are in constant evolution. We are constantly growing up, and we're constantly being asked with love and adoration, what do you want? So that is how we interpret and perceive the energies within us and around us, because after all, astrology is the science of spirit come into form. And as such, We are I am spirits in the physical form. I am Aries. That is the statement of Aries. We must know who we are and be as we are before we can have. That's the statement of Taurus. We must have what we want before we can think, which is the Gemini statement. We must be able to think clearly before we can feel clearly, which is the Cancer energy. We must feel clearly before we can will. I will, which is the Leo energy. I will is necessary before I analyze, which is the Virgo energy. Before we can analyze, we have to will ourselves to be interested in anything to analyze. Before we can analyze anything, before I balance, I must analyze, because after all, what am I balancing? That is the Libra energy. I balance. I must balance before I can desire. Before we can desire anything, we have to balance within ourselves clarity to assert a desire. The Scorpio energy. I desire is necessary before I see, because I won't know what I'm looking at. I won't have focus. I must desire, Scorpio, before I see. The Sagittarius statement. I must see clearly before I can use something. The Capricorn energy. Before I can know something, I must use something. I know energy of Aquarius. For me to know something, I must be clear about its use, about its purpose, about what it is. The Aquarius energy, I know. And I must know something before I can believe it. The Pisces energy, I know before I believe. And I believe, Pisces energy, before I am. What did we believe before we came into form? Of course, Pisces energy is 12th house, unconscious, isolation energy. We are away from everything. We are in meditation. We are in retreat. We are in a place of clarity, of believing in something. And so when we are disincarnate, we are in spiritual form, there is a belief crystallizing around matter, which creates the physical form of the Aries body. That passion, that fire come into form through Aries. This is the way Great Mother has channeled to me the relationship between the Vedic and the Western astrology as they are used on her channel to do readings with the Great Mother Speaks deck. This deck is going to be used to give you a report, and the Vedic is the soul energy. It is the soul energy of being in the full moon. Just that being. What do you want to be? And as a child, we interpreted that as, what do I most enjoy? What do I have the most fun at? What am I being? And it would be pretend, wouldn't it? Oh, when I pretend to be a fireman, when I pretend to be a teacher, when I pretend to be a farmer, when I pretend, what am I being? And we would translate that into an occupation, the doing, which is the actual energy of the new moon and the actual energy of the ego. And so the ego action that is required to follow through with the desire of beingness in this physical realm. What we want to be, we then create, or we pretend, an outer garment, which is exactly what the soul believed in Pisces to create the I am. So the Vedic is a very intuitive, soulful, deep energy of soul experience. So that is where we're drawing the first part of our astrological transit information from. And then we look at the Western in relationship to that in terms of the ego reaction to what the soul is experiencing. What is it doing? What is it feeling? What is it thinking? Okay, so we will get into that a little bit more deeply. But before we do, remember that each lunar cycle, from the Cancer full moon, January 1st, to the March equinox in Aries Taurus moon, we will get clarity, balance, and confirmation about what phases are most supportive for experiencing this ego soul alignment. Okay. And so again, as children, we really didn't know what we wanted, did we? We did, but the translation, it gets lost in translation. And the more we understand the language of signs and symbols, the closer we get to exactly fulfilling what it is our intuition, our sensitivity is actually saying to ourselves. And as these areas within us, and particularly speaking to sensitives, intuitives, and empaths, as we generally grow in these areas and within ourselves, and as we mature by integrating these energies in our lives, we become more attuned to Great Mother, Holy Spirit, Yin energy, that still small voice of our highest good, which enriches our lives. Enjoy your report and go to greatmotherspeaks.info to get yours for this year. Well, here is your 2018 first quarter lunar report. What keeps coming up are threes. There are 3 eclipses that will come into a completed thought form for us in this first quarter, starting from the total solar eclipse of August 21st, 2017. There are 3 major planetary transits in Uranus, Jupiter, and Saturn. And Great Mother guided me to use the 3-card spread of clarity, balance, and confirmation. Clarity telling us how we are approaching the new year. The balance is how we are transforming ourselves and our situation through the clarity that we've received. And confirmation is the integration of what has occurred, what has happened, and our understanding moving forward, which reflects the energies of the lunar cycle. For you, the first quarter, we're beginning with the month of January. That card that came up for you is Kali, for the Leo moon sign energy of I will. The Kali, Hindu goddess of fear transformation, is what shows up for you. January 2018. It is your clarification card, opening up the full moon in Cancer on the first day of the year. It is in Gemini, Cancer, your 11th and 12th houses. The soul will be in a state of peace with the world, and you are not feeling at peace. Your ego is not feeling at peace with itself and the world, so to speak, because maybe someone or something has been unkind. It would be very euphemistic to say that, you're feeling great, it's the new year and this, that, and the other, because the energies do say otherwise. This Gemini energy in the Vedic, this soulful energy in the 11th house, this Aquarian energy in the Vedic is in the Ketu, the South Node. And so there is a release going on in terms of, how you are communicating and expressing yourself on a soul level. And so there's a lot of shifting going on. And whenever that happens on a soul level, it is quite... what do they call it? It's, it's real shifting, it's a huge shift. And so we feel that it's a seismic shift. That's what we're looking for. And so we feel that, and it's very deep discomfort when we don't understand what's going on. And so the emotional response is this Cancer in the 12th house, which is maybe some feelings of wanting to isolate, wanting to be to yourself, and maybe you're getting some intuitive downloads. That's 12th house too, the unconscious. And again, that's what Great Mother Speaks readings are about, is understanding what these energies are doing and what they're saying to us, when and how to kind of respond to them. And so this is the win. On the 1st, in Cancer, you are getting this maternal Great Mother energy downloaded to you. That's basically letting you know, hey, your soul is in transition, and this may be making you feel a little scared. The sun reflecting this full moon is in Sagittarius Capricorn. And so Sagittarius in the Vedic is where Saturn is. And so, Saturn, the school teacher, the great granddaddy of the cosmos, is really making the soul buckle down on, hey, what are you doing this incarnation, with this ego body? Let's get clear. And so it's shifting, how it is going to be sharing its gifts and its talents. And you are responding to this with this Capricorn energy, which is also in Saturn, opening up the year with, hey, okay, so what am I going to commit myself to? I'm getting these downloads. And so the downloads that you may be feeling that may be a little, not condescending, but a little, stern. Saturn is very stern. And so it can be kind of this paternalistic energy that's like, you need to do this, you need to do that. It's strong, but it's loving. It's loving. Great Mother wants you to know that it's loving. And because we are seen as strong, divine children, when we see ourselves that way and when we acknowledge that, we can be in a place of kind of acceptance. But that's hard, because the Great Mother Speaks card that comes up is Kali. It is a first quarter moon card, which is about, decisions and actions to face challenges. And so this is a challenge. It's a root chakra card. And so the very roots of you with the Saturn energy, which governs the root chakra and Capricorn and Aquarius, is being shaken. You are, however, also undergoing the release of a 7-year period of Uranus in Aries, which is in your 9th house. And so you have been dealing with taking the initiative to learn new things and to go in new directions and new places in your life. And so there has been for 7 years this kind of, okay, try this, do this, take initiative, because the soul is going through this kind of transformational thing. And so in the latter degrees of any transit is when it's the strongest. Uranus is at the end of Aries, which is the leadership, and Uranus is the unique expression. So the unique expression of the soul, again, is being very strongly felt by you at this time in Aries. And so taking initiative to learn new things and to do new things, you may be feeling that very strongly right now. And this may be causing some apprehension. And Jupiter is in Libra, Scorpio, your 3rd and 4th houses. And so this has to do with, actually finding out that the new ways of being balanced at home and your self-care and the care of others is a transformative thing, because, Jupiter's in Scorpio in the West. And so that's the 4th house. So this is coming through in all areas of your life. The Saturnal energy in your 5th and 6th houses. Again, that Sagittarius Capricorn energy. And so this is knowing how to have fun. And so, of course, that's what Saturn makes us get real about. What is going to make this life for you enjoyable? What is it going to make something that is going to bring you into completion? And the soul coming to an awareness about that, and the Capricorn being in the 6th house with you, really still wanting to kind of work through things, that I will nature. And so we kind of have this juxtaposition that is creating a opportunity to use the energy that is supporting you on the 1st, which is the nakshatra Mrigashira. It's extremely loving. It's an emotional, creative, maternal, caregiving, confident, explorative energy. And so take advantage of it, because it's really good for communication with others. Even if you want to sell someone on something, if you're a salesperson, that's wonderful. You're working through things. You can do that consciously with this energy. If you're a creative director, you're a mom, a momager, a project manager, anything that has to do with taking care of others and using your confident energy to really be caring in the gifted skill that you have is going to be supported here. This is how you're opening up the year, because remember in May when the soul's nodes actually shifted, the cosmic shift of the planetary consciousness went into the North Node of Leo. And so the North Node is where the soul is going in terms of the collective consciousness for the next 18 months. And it's moving out of the Aquarius energy, that collective energy. And so that's why we've seen a lot of me. It's all about me in the collective energy. In the collective unconscious, we have Rahu, the North Node in the Vedic, in Cancer. That's the 11th house. That is caring about others. And the Ketu in the 6th house in Capricorn, which is releasing that work. So we can see where the conflict is with you, Cancer. We can see that that is where your Saturn right now is really wanting to teach you about committing and work and being clear about your responsibilities and your discipline as it relates to your daily life and that sort of thing. But on a soul level, there's some release of that. Now, what is this all about? This is all about reacting to this seeming conflict with fear. So that is the clarity, okay? That is what's going on. On the 16th of January, the balance comes into play as Saturn conjuncts this new moon, which is in Sagittarius Capricorn. If you remember, in the December new moon reading on the 18th, this was the exact same transit. It was actually on the cusp, Sagittarius Capricorn. And so this is in your 5th and 6th house. And so the balance that is coming available to you in mid-January has to do with revisiting that energy. I would encourage you to go back and listen to what Great Mother was saying to you at that time, because now as the month rolls back around, since Saturn has moved into Sagittarius Capricorn, which it did the day after the new moon on the 19th, since this new moon, New Year's full moon, we are actually looking at the soul wants to implement what it knows and needs to enjoy its work life. But the Leo moons are emotionally conflicted and opposed to the intuition, because applying this new fun-loving energy at work and daily life and its health energy and all this kind of stuff, is creating some fears. And this is an opportunity to look at that, because the new moon is planning about going forward, and Saturn in this conjunction is saying, hey, you have a lot of support about getting really clear about how you want to do this. It's up to you. It has to be done, and it will eventually be done. But you're getting some Saturnal support to help you get into the details with regard to really how you can do this. And we know this because the nakshatra that is supporting this transformational opportunity is Purva Asada. It is a very regal, transformative nakshatra. It's ruled by Venus, which is beauty and balance. And so this balance will happen if you take advantage of this opportunity of the energy that's being presented here in this new moon on the 16th, because it rewards efforts for taking the high road. That's a real high road for you Leo moon people, to say, okay, I'm going to trust my intuition. And so it may be asking too much at this time, because this transformational opportunity of using this energy is really, requiring you to squarely look at what are the boundaries that Saturn is placing in front of me in terms of, okay, I'm right now working as an accountant, but I've always wanted to be an acupuncturist. I believe that the same skill set I have as an accountant, the detail orientation, the being able to learn the different parts of the bodies and the points and this and that is pretty much the same in calculating a diagnosis and a prognosis. And I just need to go to school to learn the medical part. I know that might take a while, but what are the real limitations for me to make this? You see what I'm saying? It's that kind of use of energy. And so Saturn's boundaries, limitations, lessons, and tests that are real world oriented. They're oriented for this physical life experience. Saturn represents the time clock, Father Time, and it's the father of the sun, and so it's the father, and it is amplified in its home constellation of Capricorn, which is really kind of where you're dealing with this work issue, and so the opportunity for your life's work, health, and work-life balance is to be able to use this transit to balance the limitations, time, and resource restrictions that you may perceive that you have, to decide and act on, face, and resolve the challenges you may have in your physical body and at work as it relates to your authentic role, making plans to assist and assert and carrying that out, what that new work role or how you want to refine and define what you're doing, because this is the first quarter moon, which is all about decisions, actions, and facing those challenges, that root chakra energy. Now, we find that with fear too, closing out the month of January with Kali, that it is a total lunar eclipse. If you recall the total solar eclipse that the entire country observed on August 21st, which was in Leo, the moon was in Leo, the sun was in Leo in the west, and in the Vedic it was Cancer, Leo, the moon was in Cancer and the sun was in Leo. That means that the sun was in your sign twice. The most powerful sun there can be, a Vedic Western sign. The sun was in both signs of Leo at the same time. Even still, great mother energy of that new moon in Cancer, Leo, blotted it out. Well, guess what? That is what this full moon is. This full moon is in Cancer, Leo, your 12th and first houses. A total lunar eclipse is a full moon. So that means that this happens when the light is bright, and the light upon the moon will be in Capricorn, Aquarius, your 6th and 7th houses. What does this all mean? Leo moon people, the soul is downloading very loving, nurturing support, which you may not be interpreting that way. This Kali card is telling us that is because the Leo moon may respond to this soul download by feeling a need to prove its worth to others. So instead of feeling what the soul is doing in this Cancer 12th house of the soul is very at home with being in the unconscious. That's the unconscious space. That's why these readings are for the collective unconscious of the Leo moon people on the planet. It's just a report of the general. And this energy generally is where, Leo moon people are receiving a lot of downloads. You may on a soul level be feeling kind of really isolated and alone. And that's what happens when we need to take time. It is a phase of evolution. It is a phase of growth and development, being alone in order to process what we've learned before we move forward. We would never grow if we never assessed where we've been to determine where we want to go. But the ego emotionally in the first house of this Leo moon here on January 31st is interpreting this as, this is my identity. My identity is it is I, this isolation type of thing. It's me and me, which is very, Leo in terms of, the stereotypical Leo energy. And because this is a total lunar eclipse, that means that the sun is totally eclipsing the moon, and it's in Capricorn, Aquarius. So on a soul level in your 6th house, it's saying, hey, I'm ready to reevaluate this work thing in a way that is going to be meaningful. I'm processing this. I'm taking the time to lovingly look at what I need to commit myself to in this body, in this Leo moon body. What is it that I really need to be looking at and focusing on? And the sun is in Aquarius, in the 7th house in the Western. And so that is, me energy on an emotional level that's meeting the action energy of making commitments and partnerships with other people for the greater good of the whole. And so I'm doing that with a kind of a me attitude as opposed to a, even playing field, which indicates that, what is coming to light is this public kind of image that you may be valuing over what your soul is actually wanting to say to you. And somewhere in the translation, what the soul is wanting to share with you is being interpreted as a critique. And this reading may be sounding like a critique, but the nakshatra of Pusha as the supportive energy is here to let you know that because it's ruled by Rahu, which is the north node in the Vedic, and the moon is in Rahu is in Cancer now, in the 12th house, you're being supported. Your soul is moving forward. It is moving forward on its soul journey. It is making progress. And the supportive energies are very childlike, fun-loving, reliable, nurturing. And so much so that the lesson is self-care. Because, when the solar eclipse occurred in August, it was in Cancer Leo as well. And the sun was in Leo. So at that time when Cancer was in Rahu, it had just moved into Rahu in May, remember? And so it had just been there in the beginning. And so the I feel energy of that moon moving across the sun for your soul was very strong. What were you feeling back then? How were you feeling? That energy at that time, what was it that you were feeling that you really wanted to do with your life at work? Because that's really a new moon. That's do think energy. And, the Leo, what were you believing? What were you thinking? What were you wanting to do? That Leo first energy on a genuine, authentic level. That's where you were before. And so as this comes back around on the 31st and we're revisiting this energy, this lunar energy in a full moon respect, the question is, what have you felt since then? How have you addressed those issues that you were feeling at the time as it related to the soulful downloads you were receiving about who you are and how you are expressing yourself in the world? Are you sacrificing self-care, self-mothering, self-love, self-protection for self-centeredness? It's asking those kinds of questions as it comes back around to this total lunar eclipse, because a total solar eclipse blots out the sun energetically and symbolically, and Great Mother speaks in signs and symbols, that the unconscious is being made conscious. The shadow is being brought into the light. And so all of us went through this. This is just your description, illustration of it. These are just your houses and your energetic experience with it. All of us have had to deal with this huge energetic shift since August, and it's coming back around on the end of January and in February of 2018. So those are some very important questions as you look at Kali to decide, act, and face challenges to do your eclipse work. And you will be rewarded with a new perspective of yourself and how to use what you've learned since then to benefit yourself and to benefit others. That's a real doozy, Leo Moon people. For February, your card is Rebirth. This is divine expression, and this happens on February 15th. It's a new moon. The Do Think moon for you is in your 6th and 7th houses of Capricorn, Aquarius. It's a partial solar eclipse. That means it's a new moon. The blotting out of the sun won't be complete. It will be at crescent, And this is also a crescent, you can say a balsamic moon card. The balsamic moon card is the download card. It's the rest and recuperation card. And the soul is resting in taking on the challenge to sacrifice outworn work, health, and daily life patterns that are self-serving for those that are self-loving. And so the soul was just kind of taking a step back on that in order to allow for there to be some movement on your regard with Aquarius in the 7th house, because it's about your genius. It's about your innovation and how you connect to that internally. And so that's more of the 7th house connection and commitment on a soul level in order to reach out to the whole. And we know that this is important on the soul first because, again, Capricorn is in the South Node, or the Ketu in Vedic, that 6th house energy. And so the soul was just kind of letting go of, those outworn ways of how it was working. The soul many times incarnates as the same profession, occupation, and maybe that's something as well that's going on with this seismic shift, because the South Node is in Aquarius in the Western. And so the response is that you are releasing as well some ways that you have been connecting with people, with your genius. Again, the example of the accountant going to be an acupuncturist. Who knows? This is a general reading. This is something that is affecting the overall Leo moon collective unconsciousness. And this is something that will bring to completion for those who are sensitives, empaths, and intuitives, that total solar eclipse, because Rahu was in Cancer, and that's the North Node in Vedic, and the North Node was in Leo. And so this is bringing this into closure, because we have this Rahu Ketu with the soul, Capricorn Cancer, and the North Node, South Node, Leo Aquarius energy going on here on the 15th of February. The nakshatra Shravana is supporting you with this balance from bringing the dark into the light from August to now actually coming off of this total lunar eclipse and now this partial solar eclipse. And solar eclipses, again, bringing the darkness into light. But the total eclipse, it's really a reset button, and it's really resetting how we do things. And so it's a supportive energy that's going to really reset a tendency to either smother or abandon. So to either be too self-immersed or to be too self-centered with yourself, and or maybe too like a smothering mother with someone else, because it's always about me, what I need to feel safe and secure. From that to the continuum of feeling abandonment. So maybe feeling self-abandonment, feeling like I'm afraid because I just don't have the ability to become an acupuncturist. I think I can, but can I really? This energy of Shravana is saying that you can balance the scales of this, tendency back and forth of self-abandonment to being, self-aggrandizing by just listening. Listen to what your soul is saying. This is an energy that supports good listening. And sometimes when we have energies that come through like this nakshatra, we'll be listening to things that don't serve us. The energies just come through. They're non-discriminatory. They just come through. And if we don't know how to focus them, they really can drive us nuts. And so that's why these are really focused towards sensitives, because we are already automatically tuned into these types of things. And so if you are automatically tuned into it, use this energy, Leo Moon people, to focus on listening for what your soul is saying about your skills, saying about your strengths and perseverance. To get through difficulties such as this, because the soul is also growing, and how you can align with it, It's not so much being obedient in the sense that the ego is less, but understanding your role as a co-creator, that you are the physical entity, which is what your next card really speaks to, is the rebirth. This is the resurrection of you based on sacrificing something that no longer serves you. That's the real balance. Sacrifice is giving up something of value for something of greater value. And so if you're working with the energies, you'll begin to express this unique divinity of the soul among believers and non-believers alike. You don't need everyone to co-sign, as we see in this picture with Dorothy as she returns home. Some people believe that she had been, on this Technicolor journey, and others didn't. But that's okay. That's life. We move on. We have our own soul journey, our own cosmic calculus, as Great Mother says. And for the month of March, this is your first quarter reading, and so March closes it out with a very good look at this self-doubt, which is your confirmation. How can self-doubt be a confirmation? Well, it's also a first quarter card. So Leo moon people are really being asked to come clean and become very clear about how you're going to act, what decisions you're going to make in terms of facing these challenges. This full moon on the 1st of March is in Leo. So we have that Leo energy and the lunar side now, and that's how we know it's the total closeout for sensitives, empaths, and intuitives. It does take about a year to 18 months for the general collective consciousness to close out the energy. But because we sense the reverberations much more intensely, we will feel that the soul is at peace and the ego feels at peace for the Leo moon people, because there is some ego soul alignment here as a result of this conjunction coming through just energetically with all this Leo energy in the first house. They are aligned. Ego soul, Vedic, Western, Leo, first house. So here we have the nakshatra Maha, which is ruled by Ketu. And so we know that this alignment is occurring because, again, Ketu is that south node in the Vedic. And so there's a release of that me energy that is not supporting the release of the unhealthy ego. And so that's what it's doing. It's releasing the unhealthy ego. That's what K2 is doing in the first house of Leo. It's releasing the unhealthy ego, and it is embracing a more dignified Leo energy. It's a very paternal energy that's loving, that is naturally gifted. It's a very royal type of energy that succeeds at whatever it does. The stars just align for it. On this day, that's the energy. That's the energy. And the emotional reaction is that, the ego emotionally, Leo moon, now knows that its fears were unfounded and ungrounded. The lesson here on the 1st with this full moon confirmation of self-doubt and, questioning is letting go of the ego side of Leo. Isn't that what creates all the self-doubt? It's all about me. It's me. And when it comes down to it, I can't do it. I can't do it alone. And so that is how we find this beautiful ego soul alignment with the sun being reflected off of this full moon in Aquarius Pisces. And so the Aquarius is really looking at the soul wanting to connect with others in fruitful ways that honors its gifts, abilities, and talents. And the ego with the Pisces moon believing in its ability to do so. On the 17th of March, in that new moon in Aquarius Pisces, in your 7th and 8th houses, we see that the doing and thinking moon is confirming for you that the soul now, with its angels, guides, and ancestors, is beginning to plan. Again, this new moon energy is a planning energy of the next lunar phase. And so it's wanting to plan how to share its unique gifts and talents now that the ego is on board. Despite the emotional doubts that you are having, the soul is going ahead and it's ready to team up with others to make the dream work. And so you might suddenly notice that there are people in your life that are asking you about, have you ever thought about being an acupuncturist, for example? Have you ever, thought about being an accountant for an acupuncturist firm or, whatever, a health group or whatever. And the emotional reaction in terms of what you're thinking about this plan is, you're believing that it's, a great idea, but Pisces in the 8th house, it's belief, but it's not quite there at the point where it's able to follow through. You still need confirmation, because that 8th house energy of rebirth, regeneration, really needing others in the physical form. You need physical means, to make the dream work type of thing is the energy that's coming up there. So the nakshatra Pura Adrabad is offering you the supportive energy of Jupiter. It's ruled by Jupiter, to have faith in your abilities. And your Jupiter is in your 3rd and 4th houses. It's in Scorpio in the Western. And so you have support in that 4th house energy at home. There's been a rebirthing there, and it may not feel and seem that way to you, but energetically it's saying that the power is there to use that to move forward with whatever creative abilities that you may have, and particularly for this nakshatra, writing, just the idealist, creative intelligence that allows people to be romantic or to be able to understand deep sciences, astrology. You may be a reader of some kind. You may be into physics and be able to astronomically determine, the transits of the eclipses and how that, it's that kind of energy. And so it comes through every now and then to encourage us. And so it's encouraging you. It's giving you that confirmation that you're seeking. And it's a very focused and determined energy. And so for you, because energetically you're in this place, it could be a little distracting and a little too dreamy. But just follow the soul guidance to enlist the support of others, because on the 20th of March, that is the fall spring equinox in Aries and Taurus in your 9th and 10th house. And so what you know on a soul level is going to be very, very strong. And you're going to assert that at work. Those insecure feelings and things like that you've been having by the spring equinox, you're going to be planting literally new seeds in that crescent moon of the equinox of your values and of what's really important to you at work. This is going to have a tremendous amount of support from Uranus. Even though it will be in the latter stages of Aries, that means it's moving into Taurus by May. So in mid-March, you're going to kind of be at the cusp of that Uranus unique soul expression energy. Go for it. Go for it. That's the confirmation that you have. And that may not be enough for you, Leo, because the Rhiannon card of self-doubt really has to do with trusting someone else's word over our own. As we can see here in the card of Rhiannon, this is the 2nd chakra card. And so these are our genuine desires and how we do connect to other people and relationships that we create in our own world. March 31st is the full moon balance that you're seeking, and this is just the first quarter of 2018, so stay tuned. But the full moon here, the energy of being and feeling, the soul is refocusing because you're not ready, okay? It's recognizing its efforts to establish a new lifestyle has created an imbalance, and it pulls back for Leo moon people to will its own balance. So the Virgo Libra energy we have here in your 2nd and 3rd houses is the soul doing that pullback, that balancing, that rebalancing of itself based on its own analysis of where it's at. And the emotional response of, hey, I need to find balance with this Libra energy, and using your intelligence to do that. Your own intelligence, that's 3rd house. So the nakshatra that's supporting this for you is Uttara Falguni, and it's ruled by the sun. You're ruled by the sun. I will Leo energy. And it's an evolved Leo energy. And like Leo, it is very focused on what it wants when it wants to be. However, with the self-doubt, it's not uncanny that the Great Mother energy supporting you here through this nakshatra is very calculating. So Leos don't tend to be calculating, but this energy of Leo is. And it is not impulsive, like we would stereotypically say Leos are. It plans. It has a very deep knowledge of things. Again, maybe even occult sciences, not just deep sciences per se, but, the unseen sciences, because it has this mercurial nature of this Libra, of this Virgo, deep soul nakshatra Virgo, second house energy, this mercurial energy. And it uses the sun to power and empower what it does. So you will come to your own balance and your own understanding because the sun itself during this full moon is in Pisces Aries. So on a soul level, the soul believes that it will come to balance, but it's in a place of beingness, at peace with this, and saying this is as far as my avatar, co-creator can go. I'm going to just chill with what we've done. This is great. And the Aries sun, reflecting the Libra moon in your third house, is what tells us that you're going to use that power of Aries, that leadership energy of Leos and Leo moons, and this being ruled by the sun, to actually very calculatingly come up with what that balance is for you. You need to decide for yourself. And once you do that, you've done a tremendous amount of work, Leo. And we know that because Rhiannon, as your confirmation of the balance that you're having by the end of the quarter, says that the insecurities that keep you from leaping into the arms of Great Mother with all of this intuitive stuff, don't negate the fact that you've made tremendous progress, considering the bulk of the August eclipse energy was, it was basically harnessed by you. Rest well, dear one. And until next time, remember, Great Mother loves you. And I do too.